comments, we say.
All right. All right, welcome to the Resilient Mother Podcast. We are live. We can see your comments. We can take questions. I'm going to double check everything. We haven't done a live in a while. This is not pre-recorded. We are here right now with you. So we will see things. And we are on the Resilient Mother Podcast group page, LinkedIn, and YouTube at the moment. I'm just going to make sure we are working properly in those places. Oh, we are. There I am. Okay, so we're going to share this in one more place here. And then we'll be all set to go. All right. And done. Okay. There we go. All right. All right, Catherine. So we asked our audience to send us in some questions, and we're going to answer those.
Right.
Catherine, my wonderful host here.
I'm inviting my people. Still inviting my people.
We're live. We're doing the thing. People come.
We're doing it.
We're doing this.
All right. Yeah. We've had some really great, we've had some really great feedback on the podcast, and people have just been like really like coming out and just awesome. And I love that. And just curious about, just about the struggle, because the struggle is real. Being a resilient mother, it's a real struggle. So
and I just love how we naturally attract these really authentic, real stories, and that people are so willing to be so open, authentic, and raw with us and sharing their experience. So we're hoping that what we're doing is reaching someone else out there that need to hear that story and know that they're not alone. I don't know if everyone knows the origin of the Resilient Mother Podcast. If you see the little logo up there, that's me and my son, and my experience with his birth and being left alone during COVID to go through pregnancy and birth and then postpartum, and only really having doulas to help me, made me feel like I didn't have the positive, uplifting community of mothers that I wish I had in that experience, especially if I was in a new area where I didn't know anyone, which was just part of the story, but that's for another time. And so I figured I'll create it instead. And it started with a summit called Mothers Shape the Future. And I enjoyed interviewing people so much that it morphed into what is now the Resilient Mother Podcast. And actually the first 5 or 6 episodes were just audio. And then we moved right into video. And we've been interviewing people ever since, and we have over 125 episodes. Some are available on Apple Podcasts. That's where you'll find all of them. And then some have started being available over in YouTube in a playlist. And of course, here on Facebook is where we find most of you in the podcast groups who are willing to jump on and share your story with us. And we're so grateful for all this inspiration. I learned so much as a mom and step away every time with some new tip, some new tool that I want to use. And I want to share that with everyone else, especially when it comes to resilience in the day and age that we live in, and the generation that has, who knows what's coming for them. So they need to be resilient too. So everything that we apply to us applies to our homes, because mothers are the foundation of society. They are raising the next generation. And we want to leave a legacy of making things better by our example and the patterns that we set. So that's the sum of who we are and why we're still around and here. And we love this message, and we are striving to find new ways to approach it. And one of them was to do a live tonight and to offer to answer your questions.
Yes.
So here we
are. Of course. And yeah, it's awesome. I think, thank you so much, Tiffany, for asking me to join you on this ride. It is a ride. It's an incredible ride. The ladies that I have met on this, like, they're all like my best friends. Where are they? Like, I'm looking for best friends in my life, and I'm like, these women, oh my gosh, like, you've all been so amazing, and I just love it. I love it. And so, yeah, it's been, it's been a ride so far. And just some of the things that you're doing with your life and what you've managed to do with this podcast. So what you've managed to do with this podcast is it's nothing short of incredible, because you've been on your own. I know how this is. And just to keep moving with it has been also incredible. So I'm really, just honored to be a part of it. And and creating this village, because I think it's so important to create a village and create, well, so we come from a village mentality anyway, but to create a space where mothers' voices are continued to be heard, because, you know, obviously we do a lot, and our life is filled with taking care of people, but a lot of times it's like an unsung hero.
Yeah.
It's an expectation almost, it's literally an expectation for the things that we do. And I had I think I've said this on the podcast before, but there was one night that my husband said, "I'm going to bed," and he got up and he went to bed.
Right.
And I said, "How soon be in?" And I got up and I went to the kitchen, and I straightened up the kitchen. I put some leftovers in Tupperware, and I don't know about anyone else, but finding Tupperware with the covers is already a feat.
I haven't heard that.
What's happening with Tupperware and the covers? Like, for some reason, it's yeah. And so I had to find that, and I had to put it, because we don't want to leave the food out, because we leave it out, it's not going to be good for tomorrow. And tomorrow's leftovers. That means I might not have to cook, right? And so I do that. I pack it up. I go into the laundry room, and there is a load of clothes that was in the dryer that was not fully dried, so I had to turn that back on, and I put another load in the washing machine, so the next morning I can go ahead and put that in the dryer as I go to work. I'm just saying, like, the stuff that I had to do. And when I got into the room, he goes, "Oh, how did it take so long to come?" It was like 25 minutes. I was like, because when you say, "I'm going to bed," you get up and you go to bed. When I'm saying I'm going to bed, I have 30 minutes of work. So I'm just saying, like, women, the work that we do is very, very different than what men do. And mothers, it is definitely an unsung hero story. And I think that is it's a mess, and it needs to be different. So I love that you've created this space. And I think that we need bigger spaces in this world, because we share this with so many women everywhere. And for them to just know and to be validated that, yes, what you do is important. You need the support. If you're not on track, you need to get on track, because it's, it really is something. So yeah, so I really do. I love that. And I'm happy to be a part of it, for sure. I see we have there's somebody that joined us.
Hi.
Hello.
Sort of.
Hello, tell your friends.
I just have a note here. Some comments are working on some platforms and others aren't. So if you know us personally, maybe send it to us. If you have a question, if the comment doesn't work, or we'll get to it later.
Yes. Send it to us personally on WhatsApp or Facebook, and we will definitely comment about it. There's some other way as well, I think, that we can get people to join us. So we'll do that in the future, where they can ask to join, and they can
join us in the room. Ooh.
Yeah, wow, that would be something.
We'll bring you on stage.
So one of my questions that I get from women a lot, and it really is about being guilty. It's about feeling guilt. Like, is feeling guilt. So I had this whole conversation about guilt with one of my clients the other day, and she was basically saying, is mom guilt healthy? Is it normal, or is she doing something wrong? And I'm like, girl, it's normal.
Yes. Please normalize that. Yeah. We have high expectations on ourselves as women to begin with. And we live in a world today that makes us believe we can wear all the hats.
Yeah.
You can only spin so many plates. You can't spin all the plates. It's just not possible. So especially when I became a single mom, never expected to be a single mom. I never wanted to be divorced. I never pictured, I wasn't prepared for this. So what do you do, right? Do you wallow and do you play the victim? Heck no. That's what the Really Resilient Mother's about. No, we rise up to the occasion. We're moms, right? We use our love and we push through, and we're mama bear, and we do what we got to do. And we can do it in a way that is holistic. So let me clarify there. We're talking about a holistic resilience where we get up and we figure it out, but we use our love and our self-care as our fuel, because you need that foundation so that, you got to put your oxygen mask on before you can put it on anyone else. And really that example of resilience and that example of taking care of your foundations is what will help the next generation be resilient and them seeing you get through the struggle. I used to worry about that a lot until I talked to a lot of other people when I know that they're a divorced kid, like they've been through a divorce as a kid. And really, so most of the time they're thankful for that they had the experience, that it resolved what was going on at home, and it taught them to be more careful in the relationships that they picked so that the next generation didn't pass on the pattern. I think there's this fear of my parents are divorced, I'm going to get divorced. But that's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is the moms that rise up and take the time to do the work, the inner work with themselves, that passes on to the kids, and they start doing an inner work.
Absolutely.
Helps set them up for success. And so I feel like the choice is yours. And really that's all we want to show here is if you go through all these podcast episodes, I would have a hard time believing you can't find one that you could relate to. I recently shared it when I went to a conference a couple months ago. I guess not as recent, but when I did, it was interesting because somebody came back and said, yeah, I listened to that episode on this, which didn't necessarily completely reflect them. They weren't in the motherhood chapter of life, but they could still relate to it. And it came back to the self-care piece, which I thought was really interesting. And it was for people that are taking care of people at home, that are home care, and they were taking care of their parents, not just the kids. They're now taking care of mom and dad at home and how that was a different form of mothering, right? Because we don't necessarily have to have biological children to mother either. We need more mothers in the world, people that want to nurture you, that want to support you, that want to be a pillar of love for you. Let's bring more of that into the world, please, and freely, and celebrate it, because that's the foundation of society. It's not likes, loves, following, fortune, fame. It's moms. And you'll find that people that are really successful, who are they going to thank first? They're going to thank mom.
Yeah.
They're going to thank the person who showed up, right? And right. So that's how I'm looking.
They better.
Yeah.
They better. Yeah. And and so one of the things that I would say to mothers when they talk about guilt, I always say, listen, guilt is going to be like that natural thing. Of course, you're going to feel like you're not doing enough. You'll always feel like you're not doing enough and you could be doing more. However, the one thing that I would say to mothers, having kind of been there, done that, and just going through with my whole single mama journey, and now kind of, wheeling and coming again. The Jamaican people use that, wheel and come again. By the way, if any Jamaicans are listening to me, I might not have said it right, but okay. And so, I would say this, just ensure that your children are being taken care of. That, like, just ensure that you have good childcare. I always say that, like, even as a younger mother, like I always ensured that, I'd rather spend money on some childcare. Like, I'd rather spend money for somebody to babysit my kids for an hour or two at home, so I could get a moment to just walk down the street by myself. Self-care is so important. So don't feel guilty when your children are being cared for and they're having fun. They're having a great time. Be guilty if you're not putting good things in place for your children, like you don't know who's watching them. Not all help is good help too, by the way. So that's important, And so I think when it comes to guilt, like, just relax and breathe through it, because it is natural, it's normal, but it's not fair on you. You're probably doing the best you can do. You're kicking butt every day. You're taking care of people. You are literally keeping people alive and thriving. Don't let guilt steal your joy or steal the joy from your children. When you get time to go off and be a human and be a woman and live your life as well, when you come back, you're that much more refreshed and you can appreciate your children. And so that's what I say about guilt. Stop letting guilt control you, because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And
that's what I say to that.
Different. It just does, as a single mom versus married versus adopted versus whatever your family looks like. it's going to look different. So the priorities are different, and maybe that guilt looks a little different, but it's there for all of us moms because we care. If we didn't care, we wouldn't have the guilt. So I think that's the first sign that you're a good mom, is that you care. So give yourself the credit there. If you're thinking about it intentionally, where are my kids? How are they doing? What are their interests? How can I support them? You're already ahead of the game because you're treating them like a human being, that they're a whole person, not an object, not ownership, not a trophy, not the one to fulfill your dreams for you. Sorry, nope, that's not how this works.
No. And that's another thing too. So there's the other thing, and I talk about this in both of my books. Really, I talk about getting yourself together, like making a plan for your life, for your future, because a lot of times, especially when you're from the Caribbean, and maybe I wouldn't say African American as much, because I was going to say that, but I don't want to say something and not be right. But from the Caribbean, for sure. Parents have this idea that their kids need to take care of them, like, period. I don't care. Like, when I get old, you got to take care of me, period. And so that's a big Caribbean thing. And so what I said is, even starting off on a journey as a single mother, being such a young woman, I started to think to myself, I don't want my kids to feel guilty that they have to take care of me. I don't want to be a burden to my children. So that's why get yourself together is so important. So, if you want to go take a course, or you want to go get a degree, finish school, maybe you didn't finish school, you want to, create something. I am the national director of a global international pageant. Like, I mean, I'm having a great time in my life. I have a master's degree that I did all of that stuff with my kids. And so I'm kind of like just saying that to encourage women that, you can do things for yourself. You can grow. You just graduated with your bachelor's degree.
I sure did. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's just going to be stuff that's going to allow you to live a better life, but to give your children a better life as well. And then down the road, it doesn't have to be, well, what are you going to do for me, to your children? Because trust me, when you're busy telling them, talking about what they're going to do for you, they're busy trying to live their lives. They're busy trying to get their kids and get their house. It's the whole stuff that they're doing. So getting yourself together just is better for you and your children. Now I get to live a really healthy life with my adult children who are getting their lives together, have gotten their lives together. And we just get to be able to enjoy that together, as opposed to saying, what you going to do for me?
Oh yeah, it's not an obligation. It's a choice. And they want that choice to spend time with you. I mean, that's my goal. I want my adult children to invite me to go somewhere with them, or to come visit, or to come help, or those kind of things. I look forward to that. So I'm thinking about that now. I'm not going to wait to think about it later. And I'm really applying that to my teenager right now, thanks to another wise woman in my life who gave me advice and pointed out that the struggle I was having with my preteen turned teen was that the relationship's different now. It can't be the same. And her best advice was to sit down with my teen and have that conversation of, our relationship's changing. I understand that. I'm figuring this out along with you, but it's because I want a relationship with you when you become an adult. And I recognize you're on your way, figuring out who you are. And I want to honor that. And I want to honor you. And so it's so interesting, because it shifts into this more like almost realizing I have some persuasion, but they have their agency as an individual. I have influence, but they have their agency. So I can be the example. I can give them the tools. I can give them the strategy. I can pour my love into them all the time. But ultimately, I have to honor and respect that they have a choice. And they're going to make whatever choice that it is. The important thing is they need to know I will always love them no matter what. That's mom's job. And that I will always be.
As it should be. It should be.
Definitely.
Yeah, as it should be, like for sure. And I think, and growing with your kids, growing and going with your kids is really important as well. As they grow, because that 5-month-old is a very different person than that 2-year-old, and that 5-year-old is a very different person than that 2-year-old, and that 10-year-old is different, and it goes on and on. The 15-year-old is different than the 5-year-old, and the 25-year-old is different than the 15-year-old, is what I'm learning. The 30-year-old is different. Like, I'm not the same person. Like, I need to reintroduce myself to you. Like, okay, let's do that, because it's true. People are changing and growing, and here you have an idea of what they're supposed to be doing or what they think, and it's absolutely different. And you have to allow that evolution and kind of move along with them and not take it personal. They love you, you're their best girl, just like they're your best kid, but still kind of grow with them. I had a question, and so one question I just got from one of my friends, by the way, said, "What about if your mom is not doing what you would like her to be doing with your kids? Is it okay to say something to your mom?" And trust me, that's a very big question.
So I've
Very
had
big.
and I will say I wasn't too happy with what happened. I can't completely share, but what I had to do was set new boundaries. And unfortunately,
Boundaries, the words, boundaries.
And unfortunately, I had to set a harsh boundary for almost a lesson on, I'm an adult now. These are my kids. Yes, they're your grandkids, but they are my kids.
Yes.
And you don't get to step in and take that role from me. And you also don't get to talk bad about me in front of my kids just because.
Well, that's definitely a no-no.
Not okay. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it was a necessary, and it was interesting because in the past, I would say I haven't had the best relationship with my parents, and it's a work in progress. I will say that because as I've striven for my independence, I got this kind of attitude of like really strongly defending my boundaries when I was like, wait, these are not being honored. And then I wasn't too nice about it. Right. That's not very effective.
Yeah.
I will say, as I've learned my parents' backgrounds, how they were raised, what they learned, what patterns they've taken on, the generational trauma and different things, it has given me so much more compassion and understanding from where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
Versus where I'm coming from. But that doesn't mean I can't protect my kids with the boundaries I want them to have.
Right.
And the environment I want them to be around. And I do want
absolutely
to be a positive experience. I want family to be a positive experience. I do want them to know their grandparents, but we are finding that rhythm that works. And I had to close down some things, and we've kind of started opening back up a little bit, but we're testing the waters because they now understand I'm going to stick up for my boundaries.
Right.
and that could be the difference between having a close relationship or not. And unfortunately, sometimes it comes to that, but it have to. You might start seeing some patterns and nip them in the butt faster. And if you recognize a pattern in the family that you're like, you might be able to say, and I kind of have to do this with my ex having like co-parenting too. They do things their way, but I do things this way in my household.
Right.
And you value this, but I value this. And therefore I want my kids to value this. And if you put it that way, it's a little bit easier and less harsh. I mean, then sometimes you have to be. And also giving examples of what they could do instead can also be helpful. Of like, I would feel better if it had been handled this way. Give them some options. And then, I mean, honor their agency and their ability as your elder. I mean, we got to honor our elders a little bit. We can't just do this like emotional cut people off thing anytime there's a disagreement. We can find common ground to build on. And I don't think you have to compromise yourself, though. I'm not going to say that. I will never say that. That's not a good relationship if you're having to compromise yourself. But you can set a standard that you would like everyone to come up to. And it may be different than anyone else in your family. Maybe you're that chain breaker. Maybe you're breaking. Maybe you're the one who is healing all the generational trauma. I'll tell you, it's an interesting role to be in. It's not easy.
Right.
And so don't get discouraged by the friction. And then two, let me just say, because we talk about this on the podcast a lot when it comes up, abuse is abuse. Abuse is never okay. Period.
Right.
From anyone.
Absolutely.
In your and kids get abused by someone they know. And so that's also where you definitely need to draw the line as well. So that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I think what happens a lot is that we are afraid to speak up about our children. We're afraid to speak up to teachers. We're afraid to speak up to our parents too, right? But what we need to realize is that, like you said, this is your kid. this is your kid, and you have to be your kid's advocate. And if you're not going to be your kid's advocate, then tell me who's going to do it. And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, what you hope is that you hope that your parents have, like, when it was their time, that they stood up for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And if they stood up for you, then what's the problem? So they should not have a problem with you doing that. So these are just some uncomfortable times in our life that we might have to say, hey, that's my kid. I don't agree with it. I know you guys might have done that. As my children would say, in your day. Let me, in your day.
Back in the day.
Yes, in my day. It's so, yeah, you're right, in my day. But that's not what we do right now, and that's fine. And so that, I think that we might just have to have those hard conversations. I've had to do that with my mom, and my mom has respected me for it. Like, she really has. She's completely, she definitely, and now she understands it. Now she really understands it.
Mm-hmm.
She really does understand it now. And I think for me, it was a difficult conversations, but for her to kind of come out of it, like saying, wow, I remember when you did this, and I really didn't understand it. And I was mad with you about it, but I'm glad that you did it, because now look at your kids. And I'm looking at her like, because I just remember the fight,
Yeah.
And there were so many fighting moments where, I had to say, no, I don't want him to go there, or I don't want, this to happen, or I don't want you to leave them over this person's house. Like, I don't think that they care for their that great. So can you not drop them over there?
Yeah.
And it was just like some moments where we were just like, it was touch and go. It was touch and go a lot. But just
go ahead.
Just be 100% knowing that you're on track. And am I hearing you? What's happening?
Yeah, we got a little bit of delay. There's just something you said that really hit me, and I'm only going to share this
because a delay.
Yeah, I'm only going to share this because it's hitting on my heart. But I think one of the areas to consider is, let's say you're in a family. It's very hypothetical. Please just don't read into this in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. But let's say one of these difficult situations may be, someone in your family has a child who had been abused. And you don't want that child to feel like they're being treated differently in the family. But that doesn't mean you put the kid in situations where they might be able to abuse the other kids. Like, that's not okay, right? I mean, if they had just dealt with it, they're going to counseling, they're learning, then they don't maybe know yet what the proper boundary is. So it's okay for you to, that's one of those tougher conversation situations. And to deal with children, was it 3 and 5 have been molested at a young age? Like, it's unfortunately way too common because we don't talk about it openly. So predators are able to groom children into these secretive situations. And so, and then family is ashamed of it, so they don't want to talk about it. But the problem with that is it doesn't serve the child in healing and learning what proper love is and what proper boundaries are. And it doesn't give them the opportunity to learn how to be safe with other kids. And then they can kind of carry that stuff all the way into the teen years, and the teen years happen and hormones hit, and then new stuff pops up. And so it's not something that should be taken lightly at all. And you're absolutely right to have boundaries, but also have those open conversations about these things before they happen. If you can prevent these things from happening by having open conversations, then you're all the better, because then nobody's dealing with having to deal with a child who is abused, or dealing with a family member who did it, who didn't know any better because it was done to them. I mean, sometimes this is passed on in families because somebody didn't talk about it and nip it in the butt and didn't not tolerate it. Like, we don't do this. We're going to take care of this. Not, oh, it happened. That serves no. And it continues on. Yeah. And
communication is everything, isn't it? Like, I mean, like having a great, communication, kind of line of communication with your children is everything. So
Mhm.
it kind of alleviates a lot of people getting in the mix, or people that are not so good getting in the mix, you know, in the middle of what you're doing with your children, like having a relationship. As a social worker, I've seen a lot of times when parents, like moms, you know, a daughter has said that the mom's boyfriend is being fresh with her or whatever, and the mom will not believe her, like, oh, she's a liar, and just, and I'm like, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, that your child won't lie, but I always err on the side of caution. And I think that, you know, we want to be able to listen to our children, we want to be able to listen to our daughters in the event that she is, you know, not in a safe situation. But to just automatically not believe your daughter, it's so many other things that could be happening that you need to be paying attention to anyway. So the fact that your daughter is lying about that means that there's something going on with the relationship, you and her relationship. And so just deciding to not believe her because that's your boyfriend and you trust him, like, come on, lady, like, you know, that's your kid. So how did she get to the point where she is that kind of kid that would lie to you about something so serious? So there's a bigger picture here. So I'm not that person that's going to just not believe my kid. I literally am going to believe my kid, because when my children were small, I always said, listen, I'm not raising liars. So I want you guys to be comfortable telling me whatever you need to tell me. And I promise you that I will listen to you without judgment. I'm going to grit my teeth sometimes. And, you know, and most of the time I've said, I'm not going to punish you. And I've kept my word. When I say I'm not going to punish you if you tell me the truth, I've kept my word, because I'm not trying to trick you into telling me something that's going to get you in trouble. And I know sometimes I'm like, boy, I could have put you in some trouble for that. But I realized I got to keep my word. So what do? You know, how do I make this a teaching moment? Yes. And that's, as parents, especially as mothers, but as parents, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have teaching moments with our children, because we're teaching them how to be adults. We're teaching them how to think and how to be healthy
and we
adults.
can't do that if this is going on all day. If we're not making eye contact, if we're not giving the option for conversation in the car, even, or the little moments, those little moments are the things that make a difference with your kid. Not the big trip to Disney. Yeah, that's nice. But it's these little moments that they're going to remember. Oh, and mom took me to the ice cream shop, or to music class, or in the car when we would sing at the top of our lungs fun songs. We think it's these big things we see when we compare ourselves on social media, and it's not. It's the little things. And it's so important that we stay connected, because as we're talking about communication, we have to have that open communication. There's a pandemic of children doing self-harm right now because they are too ashamed to talk to their adult parents about their feelings and what's going on. So they're turning to peers on social, and they're learning these things about self-harm that I was never exposed to till I was like an adult. And this is happening 9, 10, 11, 12. And it's, hello, we're the adults here. We've allowed this. Not okay.
Yeah.
So we need
our children are not safe. That's one thing we need to know. One thing we need to know as parents and as mothers, our children are not safe. Do not for a second let down your guard and think that your children are safe with the world. They have not been safe with the world from our days. The world is right there ready to pounce on them, to destroy their self-esteem. The world is ready for all those things. The buffer is you. The home is the buffer. And so when you have that, and that's why home is so important, because you're teaching and you're protecting and you're providing a barrier of protection, so that when they go out into the world, they're kind of like, hey, I'm not believing that. Oh, that's foolishness. I'm not falling for that. I'm not down with that. I don't need the love from that, because I have love at my home, you know?
And don't think they don't hear you. Like, especially in the teen years when you're like, I don't think they heard me. Did that get through? You'll be surprised later, because as their brain develops, as they start making choices, as the logic comes back in, they're really going to be able to hear you, that they did hear you. And if nothing else, it's gained in the subconscious, you know? So it's so important then, I would say too, when we're talking about communication, are the words that we use. And I would say I grew up in a very negative household, because they came anyway, it's a pattern, right?
Yeah.
So something I'm constantly working on is making sure I'm doing more positive affirmations, more positive feedback, because that reinforces that behavior versus if you're pointing at the negative, that reinforces that behavior. Because either way, your kids want your attention and they'll get it however they can get it.
Tiffany, absolutely, that's so funny. And in my last book, Single Mama Powerful Not Pitiful, I say there's a chapter called Sing Their Praises. And that's what that's talking about. Mm-hmm. That's talking about let your children feel like they're amazing. Let them, just give them all of this wonderful, just build them up so much, because the world really, and like you said, you grew up in a household that it wasn't even that way. And these people loved you in that house. Believe me, they loved you.
Right?
They loved you. Mm-hmm. Like you can depend that they loved you. Yes. And still it was negativity. So singing your children's praises is so important. And that also builds trust. So they know you got them. You got their back. They can come to you because you're not a part of the putting them down crew. Even if the putting them down you think was the truth, you're not a part of that. Mm-hmm. Remember, I've had a couple of teaching moments with my children, but one in particular I'm going to say with my daughter. My daughter was in a beauty pageant when she was 12 years old. And I remember, and she, and they're always in the Little Miss and stuff like that. And I just wouldn't put her in anything. I was like, no, I don't want to put her in. I don't want anybody to, judge her. And then she loses and she feels bad. So I never mentioned it. She never mentioned it. At 12, she says, I want to be in this beauty pageant. And I said, you sure? She said, yeah. She's 12, right? So I'm like, okay. Anyway, I'm taking her to rehearsals. And I'll show up and she's doing some foolishness. And I'm like, you better pay attention, because I'm very, very competitive too. So I'm like, what are you doing? And so I started to warn her a little bit. I said, you might not win. I was trying to prepare her for this. You might not win, because sometimes people are unfair and you might not win. And one day she had just had enough of it. And she said, Mommy, could you stop that? She said, do you think I can win? I said, yeah, of course. She goes, that's all I want to know. I just want to know that you think that I can win this thing. I don't care what they do. I don't care if they even cheat. I don't care if I'm supposed to win and they cheat and I don't win. It doesn't even matter. What I want to know is that my mom thinks I could win. And that was such a teaching moment for me, because she basically said, look here, lady, I don't need you to tell me what the rest of the world is going to be up to. I don't need you. What I don't need is you doubting me. What I need is to know that in that corner, my mom thinks I can win this thing. She thinks I'm the best thing that's here. And that was such a teaching moment for me at that point, that I realized how important my opinion mattered to my 12-year-old. And even though I was trying to prepare her for the event that she may lose and the event that she said, I don't need that. What I need is to know that my mom thinks that I got this thing. And of course she won it. Long story short.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, right? It becomes their identity, right? Like what we say, whether we realize it or not, will become the identity that our child takes on. Yeah. And so we have to do reinforcement of that. And they may change interests. They may change friend groups. They may evolve and change along the way, but we still need to be that voice of positivity. Yes. And I think what's interesting is I'm definitely doing a better job with that with my youngest. And now I'm trying to figure out how to apply those same things to my oldest. And with a year gap, that's interesting. It was funny last year because I had a 13 and a 3-year-old. So somebody was like, you have a teenager and a 3-nager. And I'm like, and they were always like this. And I'm like, yeah, you understand. So, but it's the same principle. So I think it's big. Do it a little easier with the little ones because they're so cute and we're a little better about it. But that's all the way through adulthood.
Absolutely.
Just when they're little, we're more conscious of our words. I think most of us are, but it's got to go all the way through. And so those adult conversations, those teenage conversations, I think it was, I can't remember which podcast a guest it was, but they said, when you talk to your kids, think about, are these the last words I'd ever want them to hear out of my mouth?
Oh, wow.
Because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. That totally changes what you're going to say and whatever that moment is that triggered you.
Listen.
Whatever that emotion isn't even about you, right? It's not about you in those moments. And then flips it. So
I've always thought of my kids because, my journey is 26 years old, with 3 little kids by myself, a single mother. And so I've always thought of them as my people. These are my
Yeah.
people. These are my people. This is my team.
Right.
And I love those people, man. They're my best friends. Like, how do you talk to your best friends? How do you make sure that your best friends always know that you love them, like they're the best things in the world? And I think that's important. I have another story that I probably have told it, about why I call them my treasures. I call them my treasures, and I say people take care of your treasures because they are your treasures.
Yes.
And the reason I even came up with this story is because someone called them terrors.
What?
Listen, I walked through the door of my friend's house after church one day, and it was a group of us. We'd all get there at the same time, and we're gonna have lunch. And I walked through the door, and like, Catherine, her terrors are here, and I was like, oh. I heard it like, oh, it was a slow motion moment. I was like, oh my God, they're calling my kids terrorists. And I look around and they're tearing the people's place apart. So they were really being terrorists. And I was like, get over here. Like, are you guys kidding me? Like, stop it. But in my heart, I was like, absolutely not. They are my treasures. Yes. Catherine and her treasures are here. And from then on, I started to say, okay, how do they behave like treasures? Because what I seeing as terrorists. And so let's stop that. So I kind of took responsibility too of how I wanted that to change. But I knew I didn't want to be raising my kids think, what a terror. I'd want to be talking about what treasures. And guess what? So I was on this show as a guest, and I tell that story, and the host said to me, I was talking about my book. He said, you know what? He's a Christian guy. He goes, you prophesied that. You prophesied that over their head. And I was like, oh, I did. Because I never thought of it like that deep. He was like, you prophesied that. I was like, yes. Okay. Awesome. And so that's just to say, put those words out there that you want to catch wings and fly, and not the ones that you don't want to catch wings and fly, because the power, life and death is the power, is in the tongue. But man, I'm telling you, so I walk around all the time. These are my treasures, my treasures, my treasures. And period.
Well, period. And I think that may be the difference between us experiencing single motherhood and others. There are some that are really, the thought's there. Am I really a family now?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm missing a piece.
Yep.
Certainly, it's better to have two parents in a household. It's just proven that.
Absolutely. Hands down.
We had world wars where moms lost their spouse in war. Yeah. Single moms have been around for a while, or widowed, or like it's part of the human experience. So it's not new to you.
Right.
You weren't prepared for it, but you get to choose. No, this is my family. Like, it's your treasures. This is my family. This is what it looks like, and I'm going to make the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, now I'm not a family, and like kind of make excuses for
a broken wing or something. Yeah,
because
that's funny, because they wanted me to be in a commercial, and this was when they were all, I think they were like, I don't know if they were maybe 8, 4, and 3, I don't know, 8, 7, and 4 or something, and they were like, oh, we want you to be in this commercial, and they were going to pay me too, but they were going to give me a husband. Like, there had to be, and I said, why can't it just be me and my kids? They're like, no, it's a perfect family. And we want a perfect family because it's for a bank loan. The commercials for, and they were paying like $500. It was like a couple of dollars. And, on principle, I said, no, I don't want to do that. Well, I think, I don't know. I don't know what was I standing up on, but I just felt like, no, my family is me and these 3 kids. And so there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, it would be better, if you had a mom and a dad, but I don't want to fake that in this picture to show the world this perfect family. Like, this is what our family looks like,
right now.
So, exactly. Exactly.
And you know what? You believe God will make all right someday.
Yeah.
Someday will be a whole.
And I think you're right. I think you're right. I think for that's the message that we want to give, you and I, especially because, I have had a single parent journey, and you are on a single parent journey. And I think we want to give that message to the moms that are out there that are on single parent journeys, and the dads that are out there on single parent journeys, that you're the head of something amazing. Like, don't be downtrodden. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like these kids are just cramping your style. Listen, they're your style, honey. Like they're your treasures, man. They're gonna be like your best friends. If you do what you need to do, they're gonna be your best friends. And I'm telling you, I'm a cautionary tale, honestly, for anyone and it's not a cautionary tale. It's a tale that tells you at the end of it, here's what you get out when you put in that stuff. So, I'm just, just excited about just talking to moms in just different arenas. Right now we're talking about single parents, but we're just talking about resiliency. Because what I've loved too on the Resilient Mother podcast, we've met a lot of women that are married.
Yes.
And they talk about their husbands and they talk about their support system. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great. That's my story now too, but
Yep.
We're all inclusive. We want to be inclusive of all mothers, all resiliency. And that's awesome.
Whatever your motherhood looks like,
Whatever.
the point is you should be able to enjoy it.
Yes.
And I think we forget that a little bit.
We got a lot of work.
Yeah,
we got a lot of work to do. We're tired. We're exhausted. God.
Oh, I agree. So 5 minutes of joy a day, you got to give yourself minimum. That's my prescription for all moms. You got to give yourself 5 minutes of whatever you enjoy. Like I did some vocal exercises today. I'm getting back into singing. And so that brought so much light to the rest of my day because I gave myself just 5 minutes for me. And if it turned into a little bit more because kids are being good and a little bit more, that's okay. As long as I don't lose hours in it. And it's the same with our kids. They need that 5 minutes of one-on-one time with you, unobstructed, to connect with you every day, minimum.
Yes.
It makes it feel doable. Yes. And if it becomes more, bonus, right?
Yes.
So we can all do this. And
yes,
we want to enjoy every moment in motherhood and our journey and wherever you're at in that journey, pre-mom, post-mom, like once you're mom, you're mom. And that doesn't change. And how sacred that role is, how important that role is. It doesn't matter what it looks like for you and your family.
Yes.
So you're able to show up and be your best. And only you know what that looks like. And if you're not there yet, you get to explore and get curious about, okay, this is what I have to work with. These are the children I love. This is my family that I love. This is the husband that I love. Whatever you've got going on, it's yours. And you're creating it. And you get to decide where it's going. And as the mom, the saying, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So mama, let's be happy, right? So easier said than done, right? But you get the gist. So.
Yeah, and it's so worth it. It's so worth it in the long run. Like honestly, like it really is. It's such a blessing, and embracing that blessing is so important. It really is. Anyone who knows me knows, like, my whole life has always been all about my kids. From the very beginning, it's always been all about my kids, and that's never been it's never been something that I shy away from, because I always knew that they didn't ask me to be here, and in fact, I brought them here, and I owed them at least to give them a pretty decent fighting chance, at a good life. I owed that to them. And so there's no excuses at the end of the day. I had to do that. And so, I get to hang out with my best friends.
Yeah.
We're my best friends. They're supposed to be showing up.
Well, I don't know if it's our StreamYard that we're not getting some of the comments or not. Like I said, if you come later and you see this, you want to ask us a question, please put it at the bottom and we'll get back to you one way or another and answer your questions. Or we'll probably do more of these in the future now that you're like, hey, they're actually here to answer questions. Like that doesn't happen as much as it used to anymore, right? So we're happy that you're here and that you're listening. Do you have any more questions that have come through for you, Catherine? I was looking at mine. I don't think I see any at the moment. I just want to make sure we didn't miss somebody if someone brought a question in.
Yeah, no, I just got the guilt question, and then I got the mom question. What do I do with my meddling mother?
Hey. Yeah, it's the mother-in-law, right? Usually, or
right.
Yeah. In some cases,
I had an amazing mother-in-law. Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! She was amazing. She was so good. I wish you all this mother-in-law that I had. She passed away a couple of years ago, but she was just she's such an incredible human being. So. And not all mother-in-laws are, our mothers-in-law are nightmares. I'm not a nightmare. I'm a mother-in-law. I hope that my daughter-in-law says that.
Well, Aren't those some of the roles we don't think about, like stepmom or mother-in-law, or like there's some other little facets of mother I have yet to experience that I'm like, oh, what would that be like? I haven't really completely thought about that yet.
Listen, and being a mother-in-law is a whole different animal. Let me tell you, being a mother-in-law and being a daughter-in-law, you know, and
Oh, yeah.
so I have experience being both, right? And so sometimes I want to do like a daughter-in-law course for my daughters-in-law. call her regular.
Next book. No, yeah.
just come over with the kids all the time. You know, because the sons are not called. I'm like, call your mother, you know. So, but yeah, it is something else. But yes, moms, thank you so much for showing up for this community. Those of you that look, that watch, that listen, that forward, that share, thank you so much for that. It is an important voice in our world that needs to continue to be heard. And that's what we're all about, you know, having that voice be heard, because the hand that rocks the cradle really, really does rule the world. Seriously. And like I said, we're unsung heroes, but we're making a big difference every day. And so we can make a mess of it, and we can make it fabulous. So that's our choice.
So queens, put your crowns on. You are royalty, moms. Treat yourself that way. And we honor you here in that respect. So if you have a story to share with us that you'd like to share, that you feel would inspire others, if you know an expert on resilience or something that applies to motherhood, we've had people on here for postpartum related stuff. Recently did an episode I just love about doulas, because they have a special place in my heart since they helped me in a really unfortunate, hard situation. And we have a guy coming on soon that's actually going to be talking about financial well-being from the point of mothers, from his mom's experience. Bill, he's coming up here pretty soon. And so we're always trying to find a new angle, a new facet to bring an idea of resilience to you. We'd love to get your suggestions, more feedback. Yeah. We want to build this community. We want to make it more user-friendly for moms. We have the podcast. We'd love to do more of, grow the Facebook group, have more interactions, someday do a retreat. We have lots of ideas and plans. We just need you to come along, and share, so we can get to that bigger vision of really helping everywhere, all around the world. Happy moms, happy children, happy homes. We can do it if we do it one mom at a time, one household at a time.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Tiffany, just for bringing us this far with the podcast. I'm very excited that you know you've done this, and you know, here we go together on this road. And I want to say a special thank you to our guests that show up. Oh, yeah. You know, week after week after week. And please tune in. There are so much more amazing guests that are sharing their amazing stories that we are just so excited about. And we are just so in awe of these women showing their stories. But I also want to thank the husbands. Yeah. I want to thank the fathers that show up every day. I want to thank the husbands of these women, the husbands of you all that are part of our community, that are standing next to you, that are showing up and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I want to say to you, those of you that are not, or you don't have husbands that are doing it, you push them to do it, push them to do better. Okay. Yeah. We set the stage for how we're to be treated, and we set the stage for our expectations. So push them to do better. Trust me, they want us. They do. So don't listen to foolishness. Okay. And so know that. No, it takes you 25 minutes before you can get to bed because you have so much stuff to do. They don't want to do that stuff. So push them to help out. Oh, and the other part of that story is my husband stayed with me the next night. he's like, let me just watch her.
We already heard the beginning of that one. Yeah. But
that was sweet. And so I want to thank the husbands. I also want, and the partners, but I want to thank the fathers that show up every day for their kids. Oh my goodness. Like you make this journey of motherhood better. You make this journey of our motherhood experience amazing. Yeah. And those of you that are not showing up for your kids, come on. Right. Get it together.
Woo,
you believe in you too. Get it together. It took two to tango, literally. A child could not be here without both of you. So come on. I don't care how you feel about mom. I don't care how mad you are at her. I don't care how you ain't working out. I don't care. Forget about that. You got a child together. Grow up, get yourself together, and be in your children's life. So that's what I got to say. That's the social work.
Coming from you, I would say it, but you said it so much better. So thank you.
That's the social worker, honey.
And little known, we do have a few brave men who have been on this podcast, and they've shared how much they love their wives in almost
and we love them. Yes.
And so, and what they do for their family to support them as mothers, and it makes a huge difference. And we want to honor them here as well. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, Catherine, because I don't know that I've done that quite enough. So thank you for bringing that piece in.
It's so important. It's so important.
We're not mothers without the other partner. We're just not. So it doesn't happen. The journey doesn't happen without partners.
Yeah.
Of course,
exactly.
And your family. So appreciate what you have as well. Unfortunately, more and more families are not quite making it, because I think we're forgetting to appreciate each other, to let each other grow, to support each other, and communication is a huge piece of that in general.
Yes.
So hopefully the advice you get here supports that as well. Please know, yes, I'm a single mom. Yes, she was a single mom. We're not trying to just be like single mom exclusive here at all. No. It just happens to be what I can relate to at this point now. I was also a mom as well. It just didn't last as long. And so, and
that's what I love about our guests, because they represent that, they represent that that's not what we're all about. And that's important. So please remember to like, follow, share, subscribe, let the word, let it take wings and fly. Okay. Because it's so important. And also, like Tiffany said, if you're interested in being a guest, definitely reach out to us. Also, if you're struggling in your life and you need somebody to talk to, I'm an MSW. I'm a social worker. I'm a counselor. Tiffany is a certified high performance coach. Reach out to us. Let us know. This is what we do in our day job. So, just to let you know, we're here for you 100% to support you. And to just continue the work that mothers do every single day. That's what we're doing. So I just want to tell you all, thank you. I honor you. I appreciate you being here. And I look forward to more. I look forward to hearing from you. This has been awesome, Tiffany.
This was fun. We got longer than I thought. I think we doubled our time we originally thought. But this was great. We'd love to get more questions from you, even the tough ones. We're happy to tackle them. We're old enough and wise enough, I think, to handle just about anything you could throw at us. So that's why we make a great team, because we have different perspectives and experience that complement each other and really help us fulfill the mission of the podcast.
We know a lot of stuff.
We do. And if we don't know it, we'll go find somebody who knows it, or we'll point you to the episode of the person who knew it. So we will find your answer one way or another. And even if you had a question for one of our guests, we're still in touch with them. So we could go, hey, this episode, I want to ask a question about that episode. That works too, and we'll get that answer for you, because we're still connected with every guest that's been on the podcast. So please do. And if they leave a question on that episode, then we'll just get the answer for them. So if you're watching the episode and you have a question, you can just leave it under that episode itself, and then because we go back and we look at the stuff, and because we want to make sure that we're hearing your voice as well. And I just put the Linktree link down below here. It's at least on Facebook, and it looks like it went to YouTube, not LinkedIn. But where you get information to contact us, be a guest, get up to date on where we are. We're moving everything into the Resilient Mother podcast. So now our Linktree is the Resilient Mother podcast. Our YouTube is the Resilient Mother podcast. We're looking at being consistent across all platforms, so we're easier to find. Awesome. If you Google us, we pop up. So we've been at this in May, it'll be 3 years, a little over 3 years that this has been going on. It's kind of started in 2022, May officially. So we've got kind of an anniversary coming up soon, which is exciting. So we're just here. We love you. We love you, moms. Thank you for listening. And we're going to call it a night, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe so we can share this message. We are a worldwide podcast with guests all around the world, and we want to continue to grow this community. You can find us on socials. You could also be a guest. Look for that link below if you'd be interested in being a guest on the podcast. If you know a sponsor or would like to be a sponsor, please reach out to me or Catherine as well.
Sure. We want you all on this journey. We want to hear your stories. We want to share your stories. We want to gain strength from each other because together we're stronger. And to never forget the blessing of being a mother and what we're creating. We're creating the future every single day of our lives. So get on this train with us and let's do this thing, moms.
I believe in you. Believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you around.